Hey everybody, thank you so much for clicking on this video. Today we're gonna sit back, get comfy, and talk about the fitness industry. I've been working in the industry since about 2016, which really is not a long time in the grand scheme of things, especially because the first 2 years of that was only working as a dance cardio instructor. But in that time frame, I feel that I've learned a lot about being a coach, working with different types of people, and running a business. So today I just wanna sit down, share some insight from 3 different lenses, because I feel like I would have loved to have this video when I first started out. So let's jump on into it. The first lesson I learned is to know your why. Know your why as a coach, know your why in programming, know your why in modifications. Like there's endless ways that you can apply this lesson. But let's kind of break it down. As a coach, know why you're here. Hopefully it's because you want to help people, but I think you need to get more specific than that. Really dig down. Why are you a coach? Who do you want to help? For me, it's about empowering others. I want to empower my clients and the people that I reach with strength and with knowledge. We are taught so little about the basics of how our bodies work, and part of my why is to change that. It's very cliche, but knowledge is power. And knowing your why as a coach will influence everything that you do. Your classes, your programming, the type of clients that you attract. There's actually, I forgot to bring it in, hold on. Okay. There's a book I would very much recommend if you are starting out building a brand or a business or working with people. It is called Building a Story Brand. I will leave this linked below. I actually forget who recommended this to me, and I go back to it time to time just to like check in, especially as I evolve as a coach and my business evolves and changes. But this book will kind of encompass talking about your why, building your client avatar. Mine's name is Allison. If you don't know what a client avatar is, that makes no sense to you. But I find that not only initially discovering your why as a coach and then rediscovering it and going back to it and fine-tuning it over time is one of the most helpful things you can do. Let's talk about programming. I think I plug this cert all of the time. Certified Functional Strength Coach, or CFSC with Mike Boyle, was one of my favorite certifications that I got because it gave me so much more information on how to program. The why of your programming will influence how you program it. Specific movements and specific reps and sets are going to elicit specific results. Now, there's no one right way to do everything, especially if you're working with general population, but there are some wrong ways. But an example of like multiple right ways, right? Let's say you're trying to build a full body stability routine. You got a lot of options right there. So we can just look at like, okay, when I think stability, I think unilateral training, right? Because I'm trying to work on my stability and I'm very unstable when I'm working on one leg or maybe using one arm. And then that's going to recruit a lot of our small stabilizing muscles. We can go a little bit further and maybe we think about joint stability instead. Well, that's going to be more slow twitch muscle fibers, which if we're doing strength training, that's going to be a little bit higher rep, maybe 12 to 15 reps, and working at a slower tempo. Or maybe stability is more in the lens of landing mechanics, having stability out of power or explosive movements. Maybe we're thinking of this stability more from a core lens, stabilizing the spine. There's endless options. But again, if we know our why of the program, who is this for? What are we trying to accomplish? That's going to give us a clearer path to understanding what we program. Because if we have a full body stability workout and we're doing burpees and crunches, I don't think that that supports our why. Now let's dig one step deeper and talk about modifications. Knowing why you programmed an exercise will give you a clear path to what you modify to if you need to. That was kind of English. For example, let's say you programmed a side plank for someone. Most people program a side plank to work the obliques, and specifically we're working that lateral bending. So the obliques here are resisting movement. Now let's say your client can't do that exercise. Well, I'm not gonna flip them onto their back and do a Russian twist because now we're working the obliques by actually twisting and creating movement. Not a bad option, but does not support your why. So instead, maybe I'll stand them up, do an offset racked hold, and resist that lateral bending. Now, obviously in a group fitness setting, that's a really big jump and I wouldn't do that. I would simply have them go down to their knees in a side plank and take some of the pressure off their shoulder if that's the issue or if they just feel unstable. But I think you get what I'm saying. The more you understand the why behind your programming, the clearer your modifications will be and the easier it will be to choose them. The next thing I want to talk about is a little, I don't want to say controversial, but maybe just some tough love. And I want to talk about consistency. If you cannot consistently show up for your clients, why should they consistently show up for you? Especially since the pandemic, I've seen a lot of coaches like build an online business or build this and that, and it's, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to commit to all of these things, and then they fizzle out. They've changed everything around. And, you know, it could be for a multitude of reasons. Maybe you took on too much. Maybe it didn't align with what you think you wanted to do. So now, okay, we're rebranding and we're doing B, C, and E. And then in a few months, everything is different again. All right, I needed a break to figure things out, but now we're committing to blah, blah, blah. And like the cycle goes on and on. I see this a lot more so with fitness influencers rather than, I don't want to say like real coaches, but show me the certs. And look, I know it might sound insensitive, but if you're gonna do something, do it. I fully understand that there's a learning curve to what you want to offer, how you offer it, and what you can actually like feasibly commit to. But I really hate when people who have a large following take advantage of their followers by taking their money and then like ghosting them. It's actually the reason that I don't offer a yearly membership for my unlimited Fit Club membership. That's the one that has the live classes included. And to be honest, I don't offer that as an option because I don't know what that membership will look like in a year. I only have like 20 members on that. So it's like, I don't know, 10% of Fit Club members. And that's very normal. Like I have a very specific time zone and classes that I work in. A lot of people have gone back to the office. A lot of people would rather work out on their own time. So I know that at some point, I'm not going to be teaching 4 live classes a week because it just simply won't make sense for my business model. So I don't want people to pay for something and then all of a sudden it doesn't exist anymore. So again, I find this a lot more with more like influencer type people who happen to like and enjoy fitness and realize they can monetize it rather than like certified coaches who have been doing this for years. But if you are starting out, let me tell you, one of the biggest pieces of feedback I get from the people who are clients of mine, who are in the Fit Club, who have honestly been with me since I've been teaching in person at studios, they're still here because they know I'm going to show up and they know I'm going to show up well. I'm going to be on time. I'm going to be on schedule. I'm going to have a fully thought out formed program, and I'm going to give you exactly what you signed up for. Does that mean every one of my classes has been perfect? No. Does that mean that I've never canceled because I've been sick? No. But just like when I talk about goal setting, right? And consistency with your goals, consistency with your steps or your nutrition or your workouts, like most of the time, are you showing up? Great. You're good to go. Let's talk about the last thing, which is a lot less controversial. This is just understanding the fact that it takes time to get good at this, to get better at this. It's just going to take time. I actually loved when I was doing my FRC or functional range conditioning seminar in person. Someone in our course asked the lead instructor, well, like, how do we exactly know what we see during these assessments? Or like, how can we make sure we see stuff like a compensation or a weakness or whatever? And his response was, you have to pay the ignorance tax. You don't know what you don't know. Meaning, you just have to keep at it. You have to keep practicing. Your eye will get trained to see things faster the more and more you see it and practice it over time. And this is with everything. Only way you get better at coaching is by doing it. The only way you get better at programming or editing videos or talking to a camera is by doing it. I know I've told this story before, so I'm going to make this brief, but when I got hired at a Megaformer studio, not only was I new to coaching in more of like a strength setting, I'd taken like 2 Megaformer classes in my life. So at night, I would actually go into the studio when classes were done and I would set up the whole studio with the lights, with the mic. I would pretend that I had a full class of students and I would teach an entire class with music, with imaginary modifications and corrections on people. And that was one of the ways that I got really good and I was really good at that job. When I first got my personal training certification, I started working with clients and I think I was charging people, it was like friends or friends of friends. I was charging people $40, which in New York City is like drastically undercharging. I remember for one of my friends, I would commute in and out of Manhattan to see her. So at the time that was $275 each way. And I had to rent gym space, which I think was $30 at the time. So editing Justina will do the math. I either broke even or lost my investment there. Another one of my clients, I traveled all the way to Brooklyn. If you live in New York City and you know that I live in Queens, you'll know that is insane. And look, I'm not saying that you need to do those exact things when you first start, but just getting any experience is so important and helpful. You just have to start, and you just have to know that it's gonna take a lot of time. And even now, like, I look back at some of the stuff that I've programmed or put out there a year ago, and some of it I cringe at. But I think that's good. I think knowing that you're always gonna grow and evolve and expand, hopefully, is very important. The goal is not to get one certification and now I know everything. The goal is to continue learning, especially because this field, we are always expanding our knowledge with new studies, new science that's coming out. So it's very important to stay on top of that, and you need to develop as this industry develops. Whew. All right. I know that video was a little bit different than normal, but a lot of that stuff has been on my mind, especially as we are in January. A lot of people want to like really push ahead with their business goals. So I'm not saying that I am wildly successful by any means, but it is kind of insane to me that I literally just work for myself now. So that's cool. If you have any questions about anything I talked about or just any thoughts, leave it down in the comment box below. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out, and I will see you all in the next one.